Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, myrenovation.net. Today's subject is landscape architecture. Please like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much. Our guest today is Jack Casel. Jack is an amazing, talented landscape architect. He is the owner of Casel Design, Landscape Architecture and Planning in Ventura, California. He has over 18 years of experience in the field of landscape architecture. In the next few slides, I will let Jack's work speak for itself. Please make sure to watch the video until the end. I will be showing more of Jack's talented residential, commercial, and public project at the end of the video. Please welcome Jack Casel. Hello, Jack. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's always nice to talk to you, particularly when we talk about landscape architecture, especially these days with the sign of climate change that are surrounding us, from rising temperature to longer drought to severe tropical storm to melting permafrost to rising sea level. All of these signs just make us worry. And that is the reason why, between all the consultant and dealing with every day, I choose landscape architect consultant to be number one in my show. A lot of people, they don't understand how important landscape architecture is and how important landscape affect us daily in our life and make our life more comfortable. And that is the reason why we have Jack here today. Jack is first be talking to us about the role of the landscape architect and what is landscape architecture. Also, Jack is going to talk to us about how landscape architecture can help us live a better life and protect the environment.
Well, thank you so much, Mo, for having me again. It's a pleasure seeing you. It has been a while, and I hope that we can help explain kind of what we do as a profession and how we are an integral part of some of those solutions to the problems that you were just talking about. First of all, I'd like to say kind of what is landscape architecture. I think so many people don't really know what it is. We often get the people that say, hey, they think we're just kind of glorified gardeners perhaps, or that we do landscape construction only, like a landscape contractor. There are some firms that do both in a way. They do the design and construction. Those are what we call design build firms. But what we do is we're mostly here in my office at Casel Design. We're a small office, 7 people in our staff, and what we're consider ourselves more of a boutique traditional landscape architecture firm, and where we do the drawings just like yourself as an architect, and then have installers actually build the projects. So with that, let me go right here into the definition, and this comes from the ASLA website, so I'm just going to read it directly, but I think it does kind of distill it into all the different parts of what a classic landscape architecture firm would do. Here it is. So according to ASLA, which is the Association of Landscape Architectural Professionals, Landscape architecture involves the planning, design, management, and nurturing of the built and natural environments. With their unique skill set, landscape architects work to improve human environmental health in all communities. They plan and design parks, campuses, streetscapes, trails, plazas, residences, and other projects that strengthen communities. So in other words, we're basically, unlike the architects that are mostly focused on buildings and the interior landscapes, we're basically doing everything outside of that building envelope. Now there is overlap that happens between architects, civil engineers, and what we do. But you can kind of look at it as that basically we just do everything outside the buildings, especially when it comes to parks and things like that. A lot of times streets and whatnot are done by civils because there's a lot of code and it's very specific what needs to be done. They specialize in grading and drainage too, which we also do, but they take it to another level. I know why I got in landscape architecture, because I appreciate that bringing in art and ecology science. At one point, I want to become an ecologist, to address a lot of the issues that you just brought up, Mo. Like, with the environment, there's a lot of issues right now, climate change and overpopulation, and just these mega droughts that we're all dealing with, constant fires. It can be a little overwhelming, but I take comfort in that our profession, we are adding greenery. By planting trees, we're doing carbon sequestration. We're trying to use native plants as much as possible to kind of buffer and enhance the local ecology. Some landscape architects don't always do that, but I think now as a profession, we've pretty much everybody's on board with the need to look at ways to bring sustainability into our practice by, again, natives, creative use of stormwater, like try to keep it on site, get it to infiltrate, incorporating that into our designs, creating outdoor spaces so people can get some green bathing. A lot of people are nature starved. You read about this all the time, whereas landscape architecture is great because it's that profession where we get to kind of come in and help bring that back to, especially these urban areas. As you know, heat sinks, for example, are a huge issue, especially again with climate change. It kind of keeps going back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where climate change, all that heat goes on all that pavement, it radiates all night long. And so by adding more greenery, you're able to really kind of help, bring down the temperatures literally. And again, for us, one of the things I appreciate the most is when you go to projects that's successful, especially if it's a park or plaza, and you see people using it and they're happy. They don't know who designed it. They don't care. They're just enjoying the space. It's working. It has the art. It has the function, obviously, number one
Yeah,
thing that
I
you have
know,
to
I know
focus
the
on.
feeling. The
Yeah.
feeling like when you design something and you walk into this design
Hmm.
and you see like people enjoying the place. It is
Right.
the most like nobody can imagine this feeling except the person who actually designed it.
Yeah, correct. It's like you see that work,
Yeah,
come to fruition, and it's almost like having a child, and then
yeah,
you start as this little baby, this little kind of just a little thought, a little germ, and then suddenly it just continues to grow and develop, and then at the end, there it is. People are using it, and we get paid to do that. That's great. I almost would. That's the other part. Hey, um, so I think it's an exciting, dynamic profession. I think it's also evolving too. I think we're having to bring even more and more science into what we do, and that's another great thing because we do get to work with all people like yourself, the architects, and sometimes like biologists when we're doing restoration type stuff, or we're in a sensitive habitat. And I especially enjoy that probably the most. And again, artists and all, people in the community. You get to all these different um, different constituents all coming together and making successful projects. That's in the public realm. Now the private realm is great too. We also get to see some wonderful things built. Unfortunately, then it's only to a select few obviously get to enjoy those environments, but it is nice to see that as well. The people, in the private realm getting to see that enjoyment, that joy on their face when they see a landscape that kind of fits all of their needs, especially families. I love to see that when families get to jump in their pool for the first time and run out
Jack,
to.
I'm very, very, it's very, very nice that actually you explained the role of the landscape architects, because a lot of people think that landscape architect, all what they do is just trees and shrubs. They don't think that actually there are way more work beyond the trees and shrubs when it comes to landscape architect. There, like as you said, irrigation plan details, landscape calculations, fixture, furniture, exterior furniture, and you work very closely as a landscape architect. You work very closely with the civil and MEP consultant and the architect. So in order for your plan to be realistic, artistic plan.
Yes, thank you. And it really does, especially in public landscapes, it takes a team, of all the different consultants. And a lot of times the architect will, like yourself, will be the prime, is the original contact by the client, developer, whoever, city, whoever comes is looking to start a project. And then we are brought in as a sub to that, as well as the civils, whatnot. But like when it comes to parks, things like that, that's again what people think is classical landscape architecture. In that case, a lot of times the landscape architect will be the prime, and that's where we'll bring in the architects and the civil as a sub under us. So it again, it kind of depends on the scope, the project, the client, all kinds of many different factors. So there's all kinds of combinations that happen there with the consultants. Some firms are multidisciplinary. What that means is they're basically all of those different consultants are basically all in-house. But that usually you start to see that happen once an office reaches a certain scale. They have so many employees, and hey, we might as well just bring this in-house. And so that's, but again, going back to what we do, we're again smaller, 7 people. So we're again what you consider more of a boutique firm. We work, I'm licensed in California, Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, and then hopefully soon Washington State. The reason for that being I have a program client, Raising Cane's, who we worked with in the past. You remember that one. So because of them, I am getting licensed in other states, and that's fun too, because then you get to see how the other states are doing it, and you get to learn new plants. And I think the biggest thing, which I really push here with the staff too, is that I like to see people learning new things, and I think that keeps people wanting to come to work, because there's always something new. Every project is like it's a whole new deal. You think that what you learned from before can be translated exactly to next. It doesn't always work that way. You almost have to start from scratch a lot of ways, each time. That can be frustrating, but I think in the end it's more rewarding, because you're never bored.
And also, like some of the challenges that actually you face as a landscape, let's say landscape architect is an artistic. Some of the challenges is drawing the fine line between the art and the budget, because like after you do like a very nice project, so the client comes back and say, well, we have to cut, so we actually have to modify the landscape. We still have to make it looks very nice, but within the budget also.
Yes, that's very important. Yes, the budget across all realms, whether institutional, commercial, public, private, probably private even more so. We do very much take that into account. So one thing, you don't want to over design things, right? Where you're like, oh, this is great, and then they get excited about it, and then they can't implement it, and that is a big, you know, letdown, level disappointment, and then where the client could end up not being satisfied at all with the final result. So what we always try to do is kind of bring that, introduce the, like right away when I meet with clients, I'll say, hey, you're looking at my kind of spitball number to do a landscape. Maybe it's a residential, for example. I might say, hey, this is, you know, what you described is like a 300,000 landscape. Is that what you guys are budgeting for this? Like all the, maybe they want a, you know, pool and a spa and an outdoor fire feature and all these things. And then, uh, especially with clients that have never done it before, they never worked with a designer. A lot of times they're, what they think it's going to cost is well under what it would actually cost to install a landscape, including all the elements that they want. And so there's that, and then you'll see a lot of times you'll see their face, they kind of look a little downcast and disappointed, or this is sometimes outright shocked. But that's again where we go, okay, so what is your budget? And they go, oh, we were thinking 50,000, not 300,000. I go, well, with that, you could maybe do your front yard, or you have to then decide, you know, are all the elements, their wish list that they're going to include. Sometimes you have to cut it all out, or sometimes they might decide, hey, this isn't something we want to do. We'll put it off, or we just have to do it in stages. And the stage development, that's something that you see very, very often with residential. Probably 80% or more of residential will, there could be three phases that they do over time. But the important thing is to have a master plan at the very least, have that master plan. And then if you are going to kind of implement the landscape over time, then you have that template. You know, it's an agreement too, especially with couples. You know,
Yes.
they you know, like you're kind of have to do a lot of mediation sometimes. You know, the wife or the husband or whoever, they might have you know, certain, you know, priorities or wish lists that might differ from the other partner, and then you have to kind of reconcile that. And that's what that document does. It's great because it keeps a lot of marriages going in the right direction, because we've all come to an agreement, this is what we all want to do. And it's a process, and it never stops, even to the time that you're implementing the design. You're always, you know, working on things, changing things, and that's to be expected.
Is it
um,
is it is it hard to become a landscape architect?
um, so to become a landscape architect, I think that's a great question. um, you have to go to an accredited university, and you can get a BLA or a BSLA degree. Usually, when I was in school, it was like you could mostly do those in 4 years. Now I'm seeing a good portion of the universities around the country that have accredited programs are going into like 5-year programs. And then once you do that, then you can also go in to get a match. There's some colleges, not all, will also have a master's or a PhD program. The people that go into master's and PhD level, they're usually looking to go into teaching, or maybe it does give you a leg up. For example, if you really want to work for, you know, one of the larger firms like SWA, or any like design workshop, some of these more established firms, you can kind of, right, again, probably they're going to pay a little more, but again, you have a lot more schooling involved there. I think most people tend to just go the 5-year BSLA route, and that's typically more than enough to get you in and working, and you can still very much have a successful career. Some people, schooling isn't an option because they have family, or, you know, they're just different phases of their life. Maybe it's a second career, third career. You do see a lot of that, which I think a lot of people, I've seen some people that they're working in Silicon Valley or whatever, they get burnout, and then they want to do something that is something more in line with their passion. Maybe it's gardening or being outdoors. And I think landscape architecture is a great fit for those people. And so some of those people then could go into what is just as a landscape designer. Landscape designer, there's a lot of limitations. What you can't do, you can't work on public projects. You can only work like on small residential. You can't do like details, things of that nature. You can just do like little schematic plans, and you kind of hand it off to hopefully a licensed landscape contractor to install it. But yeah, again, with your landscape designer, you do have limitations. Although I have to say, I've seen some landscape designers, very good ones, mind you, that come from like a good, strong horticulture background, very good artists that are just as good as, you know, licensed landscape architects that have gone through schooling. And then they've even become so successful, they hire a licensed person to be on their staff. But that's very rare. You don't typically see that very often. Again, I went the more traditional route because I knew, for example, that I definitely wanted to go into public work and do the parks, and especially like restoration. I think that was kind of my original passion, still remains that. So yeah, so there's a lot of schools you can go to here in California. We have got UCLA, you got an extension program there for landscape. You got the Cal Polys, you got San Luis Obispo, you got Pomona. Those are two well established, good reputation schools that have landscape architecture programs, also have architecture programs as well. Pomona has a master's program that's great. Davis is another one, and there's many other that I'm not listing off, but you can go onto the ASLA website. I encourage anyone who's looking into getting into landscape architecture. Here's another project. This is one called the Dwell Residence. This is this, I think, especially would appeal to you, Mo, in that, you know, the architecture really, the architect of this one really wanted to make a strong indoor-outdoor relationship.
Oh, I love
So the architect, like you, was really much appreciates landscape architecture and landscape design. So he carved out these outdoor rooms. Like he used the building to carve out little patio outdoor rooms essentially. And then to get to certain parts of the house, you actually are required, you have to go outside to get to the next part of the house, which you don't see that very often. And
It's
so
almost
here,
like the old design with the courthouse idea.
yes, correct. And this is in Venice. This one's been published quite a bit. You'll see it a lot in Pinterest, and the images are just like all over the internet. It's a pretty popular project. And when we would be sitting there in that room, literally birds, sometimes parrots, because there's a lot of wild parrots, feral parrots that live in Venice, will literally fly through right when you're in the living room. So that again just really makes where good design, collaboration between all disciplines is so important, and you can create magical spaces when you do that.
I know, I love your work. That's why you were in so many magazines.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've had a few here, you know, get in the magazines. It's always fun to see them go in there. So this is, again, this client, his wife's Japanese, like my wife is also Japanese. So this, you know, that's how we had the connection. And we kind of wanted to, he's also from Australia, so we want to kind of bring in elements of Japanese design and kind of plants that you might see there in Japan, not necessarily the exact same plants because we have a different environment, different horticultural zones, but then, you know, things that you might see in both areas. So this is kind of how it evolved. We also had a nice little roof garden, which was fun to do there. And I can't take credit for this. The wife, the Japanese wife, she did that one nice little arrangement against and then so here's like a little water feature, which they see, very nice, relaxing fire feature. So a lot of interesting outdoor rooms and spaces to, even though it's a small lot, there's always something more to see. And oh, here's a little video. It's just kind of cool. You can see just the what it's like to go in through the landscape.
Please, guys, stay watching the video for more of Jack's very nice, talented, beautiful, whatever you call it, just like bring any good words to Jack's work, because that's how Jack is. He's a very nice person and a very, very good landscape architect.
Well, thank you so much, Mo. It was good to catch up, and thank you so much for just having us. It was a pleasure, and I hopefully you won't be such a stranger, and I can, we can talk more, and hopefully we can work together here soon. That would be fantastic.
It was always nice to work with you, Jack.
Again, I'm excited to see how your show develops. I know it's going to be a huge success, and
okay,
I'll be watching.
And have a good day.
You too.
Okay, goodbye. Okay, what do you think?
That was awesome.
Thank you so much, Jack, for the time you spend with us on this video. I really appreciate the time, and thanks a lot to everybody. And please don't forget to subscribe, and see you on my next video. How to subscribe to the channel. Once you click into any video, you will see this screen on your mobile phone. If you are not subscribed, then the subscribe button or the text will be in red. Once you subscribe, then the red icon will change to gray icon. So if it is in red, you are not subscribed. If it is gray, you are subscribed. Thank you so much for watching my videos, and talk to you on my next video. And goodbye.